It took investigators close to 3 hours for them to stumble on the body of the deceased immersed in this septic that is used as a waste collection center of waste from this cowshed.
On the 9th of November 2024, a 78-year-old woman by the name of Catherine Wecheke Kimoto went missing in her home in Kasarani County after having a dispute with one of her employees. You see, Catherine was a retired civil servant. She owned a farm where she reared mostly animals. She had children, but all her children at this point are all grown-up men and women who had their own lives, who had their own family. She's 78. And I want to assume that her youngest child would be at least 40. As an elderly woman, it was difficult for her to run this farm by herself. And so it was said she hired a housekeeper named Maureen, who comes around once a while to help her with the chores, but takes weekly off. She gets her off once a while. However, the housekeeper alone was not sufficient to help this elderly woman who has a house chores, has a personal chores, and also have the farm, and who lives alone too. So, given that Maureen wasn't stable and Maureen could probably not do everything, Catherine employed a farm boy, a farm hand named Victor. A 21-year-old man, Victor Ambeyi, who they say was from another county. So Victor was just a hustler who needed a job, and so this was a perfect opportunity for him. And he get to live with Catherine. And I think this was maybe a good thing for Catherine because she was most likely alone. And since the farmhand's job is to take care of the animals and the farm and around it, it was sort of important for Victor to live with her. However, it's not really clear how that went with Catherine and Victor. An elderly woman in her 70s and a young boy in his early 20s. I'm guessing there wasn't any relationship there other than boss and employee. Given what eventually happened, I don't think this boy was everly fond of this woman. And I also don't think she was fond of him too. And this is why you don't really live with somebody who you're not really fond of. Just barely a month after being employed, this boy began showing his ass. And so, on the 9th of November, he was paid. Catherine paid him his money. It's not particularly clear how much she was supposed to pay him. Sources said he was supposed to get 7,000 Kenyan shillings. Other sources said it could have been 10,000, but she only paid him 7. The point was, when Victor got paid by Catherine, he wasn't satisfied with the money. Was like, wait, this is not what we agreed. And I'm guessing this is Victor speaking. They go back and forth. This young boy is arguing with this elderly woman. And somewhere in the argument, he got physical. It was said he most likely picked up a blunt object, a stick, a stool, a weapon, and struck this woman on her head. He continued till he most likely killed her. Then he wraps her in a blanket and dumps her in a septic tank that was close to one of the animals' cage where she keeps the cows, the cow shed. He just rolls her up and dumps her there. Then he steals from her. He robs the entire house and vanishes. He stole her phone and then sold it. Then ran away from the county because, like I said, he was a stranger to the county, so it was easy for him to think he can do this and then run back to his village and, nobody would ever find him. Eventually, the house is empty. Catherine is dead in a septic tank. It is possible that Maureen came back to work and did not see anybody in the house and she is lost. At the same time, Catherine's loved ones are also trying to reach her, but her phone is switched off. She has a family, she has people, she has grandchildren, she has children. She most likely have great-grandchildren who care for her, and these people could not reach her. And so it became alarming. And when they tried to get to Maureen, Maureen also says she can't find her. At the same time, Maureen is aware, and her family members are also aware that there is a boy who lives with her and works in the farm. Where is the boy? Where is Victor? No one knew where Victor was. They most likely found out that nobody knew his phone number, or nobody just knew anything about him. He was recently just employed to work in the farm. So I guess everybody was just focused on Maureen, who is the housekeeper, and Victor was just somebody that they could easily just brush past. The family of Catherine reported to the police. The police swung into action. I really like the way Kenyan police be swinging into action. They'd be very impressive, to be very honest. I like how they respond to such incidents. Maybe it's different in there, but the way we talk about it from here, or the way I see it with how a lot of their crime cases are being handled, it's impressive because they start to look for this woman almost immediately. They didn't wait past the day. The search for her started and they found her in the septic tank. The detectives had to look around because, you see, cases like this is familiar. It's not like shocking that, oh, she was found by the police the next day, even without needing to find the culprits, because it's familiar. She had a farm boy who we can't find. Her phone is missing. She's elderly, lives alone, vulnerable. Nobody knows about the boy she hired to work in the farm. These are all the recipe for what can be expected. She was most likely murdered and buried in a shallow grave. And if there is no shallow grave to see, check the septic tank. And that's it. A lot of missing people in Nigeria whose cases just vanish. Sometimes just check the septic tank. I feel like there are so many homes today that have a history with their septic tank. Somewhere in my mind, there are days I would just sit and I'm like, a lot of people's septic tank in this country is a secret graveyard for a lot of people who have gone missing. But that's another topic for another day. So yes, they find this woman's body wrapped in a blanket. It was taken to the hospital for examination, and they see that she has been bruised and she has been struck by a blunt object. And they don't need to put one or two together to know that, yeah, the farm boy most likely did it. And they started the search for Victor. And just as impressive as these police doing their job is, instantly Victor was found. 2 days later, he was hiding in his cousin's place in another county. He and his cousin were both taken and arrested, which I like. Locked them both up. Even though I assume the cousin may not even know what is happening. But there's a chance he most likely still did. And we'll talk about that towards the end. We'll talk about why there's a reason why the police would pick up anybody harboring him, whether or not they know he did it or did not commit a crime. When Victor was arrested, he took the police to where he sold Catherine's phone. He had sold Catherine's phone to another of his friends who owns a phone repair shop and sold it for a very cheap price. And when they went there, they picked up the guy too. Picked them up and charged all three of them with murder. Here is the thing. We know Victor did it. Victor is the one who told us it's because she paid him less, so they had an argument. But I don't believe that is the motive. I don't believe it's because of the money that was paid to him. If you're paid less for a job you did, you complain. You call people, you speak to the maid, you speak to her children. You quit the job. Yes, you steal and then you leave. But for you to go as far as killing this woman, wrapping her up and throwing her in a septic tank, it shows that this is a premeditated killing. It's not second degree, it's not it wasn't in the heat of the moment, as Victor is trying to make it seem. Victor is trying to make it seem that, oh, I was arguing with a 78-year-old woman. I don't think she wants to argue with you, little boy. I don't think so. So it's a lie. I don't believe him. And I think the Kenyan police too don't believe him. Because it's unprovoked. It's not that serious. Your life wasn't in danger. This is a helpless woman. This is a very aged woman who is barely standing. 78. That is more than average expectant lifespan of some people in some countries. And you are trying to convince us, Mr. Man, that it was in the heat of the moment, you were exchanging words with her because she didn't pay you well, and that's why you picked up a stick to strike her head. Boy, bye. And I think the police believe that it was something that was conspired. It was something that he had planned ahead of time because he wanted to rob this woman. He wanted to steal from her. He most likely has waited all the months he was working there to get the trust, to make sure nobody was home, to make sure the housemaid Maureen had gone for her weekly off. He just needed the perfect time to do it. And he got it. And he did it. Wrapped her up in a blanket and put her in the septic tank before stealing. And the police most likely feel that he had other people who may or may not have known about what he was about to do And that is why they maybe had taken his cousin and the guy who he sold the phone to. Even minus that, being in a possession of a stolen phone for a murdered victim is also a crime. So that one on its own is a crime. Nobody cares how you got it. Whether you know or you don't know, that alone is a crime. I don't know if it's a crime in Kenya, but over here in Nigeria, it's a crime. If you bought a second-hand phone and it turned out that the owner of the phone had been killed somewhere, nobody cares. You will be locked up. And no, not they. Nobody cares. It's a crime that you're in that. That's why they encourage people to buy a first-hand phone, or at least know the previous owners of the phone. However, the people who were arrested with Victor were accused of murder. So that is why I feel like the police don't believe it's just little. They believe that all three of them conspired to murder this woman. And it will be taken to court. I know maybe they will both get lighter sentences if it turns out that they did not know what Victor had planned to do, or they did not have a hand in it. If that's the case, they may be let go and probably charged for the appropriate crime. The guy with the possession of the phone will definitely do time if it's against the law to be in possession of a stolen phone. The cousin that he went to his house to hide may not do anything, may not get time, may not be sentenced if it's well proven in court that he had no prior knowledge that this boy had done what he did. However, if he did know what Victor had done, if Victor says, I had told my brother that I had killed this woman, and he still lets Victor stay in his house, then he will be charged with another accessory to murder. I think so. So, well, I don't care. As long as Victor gets the electric chair, I don't care. I don't like when... See, this is why most times there are times where I think about, when I see elderly people who live alone, I panic. It's like, it's such a vulnerable situation to be. Elderly people living by themselves with people who work for them that is not family. Even we've seen stories where family are killing their grandpa and grandparents. We saw a story of the South African boy who killed his grandfather because he wanted to bring a girl to the house to have sex with. We saw that. That happened in South Africa, right? Because he got bored. The grandfather did not want him bringing girls to the house. And so he was like, you know what, I'm going to kill you so I can bring random girls to have sex. And that happened. Talk more of a total stranger you don't know. Well, it's unfortunate. Let's just hope this boy gets the electric chair. I don't feel bad for him. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notification buttons so whenever there's a new video, you'll be the first to get notified.